right, and thanks for spending some time with us today and talking about your business. So can you tell us, how did the business come about? Canberra's Friendly Pet Sitter.
Canberra's Friendly Pet Sitter. Well, I think I've been working with, we've always had animals in our family. So I've sort of grown up with them, and we've had the series of golden retrievers actually over the generations, and I just kind of fell into it really. I had lots of friends, neighbours asking me whenever they went away if I would just do them a favour and because we were good friends and knew each other, and I liked hanging out with animals. Like, yeah, sure, no worries. And it just started from one or two favours for friends and neighbours to so many. it just grew that way. I think that there was a bit of a hole, I think, for some of those friends and neighbours who were asking for favours. They didn't really have, actually, in retrospect, that many other options available to them. So it was probably quite handy that they had someone nearby who was quite happy to help out.
And are we talking just dogs and cats here, or what kind of animals have you looked after?
Almost exclusively dogs. Mm-hmm. Well, I say almost exclusively. The vast majority, I'd probably say about... in the beginning it would be more like 80 to 90% dogs. Now, as time has gone on, I've got more cats and a few bunnies and chooks on the sides. So now it's probably more like 70% dogs and some cats and bunnies and chooks.
So does this identify some kind of need in Canberra that, in terms of having somebody look after your fur kids?
Yeah, I think it totally does. And it's really taken me by surprise how quickly it's taken off and the enthusiasm that people have embraced it with. I've had so many people say that they would much prefer their animals to stay in the home. That's been a big thing. And also looking after the home in general. They really appreciate coming back from holidays and their mail has all been brought in. It's on a pile on the kitchen table, and the plants out in the back garden haven't died from not being watered, and a lot of people who have started off as customers have actually grown to be really good friends. And I think it's just animal lovers in general tend to be quite nice people.
So do you think we have a large proportion of mad, keen animal lovers in Canberra?
I think we do. I think I've stumbled on something that is a bit of a hole in the market. Up until not that long ago, I think the pet owners thought the only option that they had was kennels. And I think a lot of people, it hadn't even occurred to them that they could get someone into the home. They might have thought, someone could come by and maybe do dog walking or maybe drop in and feed the cats or what have you. And it hadn't occurred to them that someone could actually stay in the home and look after their animals in the home. I think overnight in particular, that's really important for some customers. I've got some customers where their dogs will bark all night if they're left alone because they're lonely, which is going to upset the neighbours. I've had other people who they don't want the dogs left alone because they're really terrified of storms and fireworks and things like that. If there's an inadvertent storm while the customer's away, they'll come back and the house will just be shredded. Those sorts of things, I can really understand when they tell me the story why they need to have someone in the home.
So this has been quite a profitable exercise for you. You have grown from just being you doing it to you employed a number of people especially over the Christmas period.
The very busy
How have you
grown? With lots of growing pains and lots of stretch marks. But it's been really pleasing to know that it's grown so fast that I need to bring on other people. It's more than what I can handle myself. That was quite a nice feeling.
So that comes with getting a whole lot of systems and processes and all of that in place. How did you find that particular process?
Well, I've got to say Lighthouse has been pretty awesome with helping me with that, because I did think, where do I start? That was a big step for me. So trying to work out who would be the right people, because that was also the other thing. This was my business. I didn't want to employ pet sitters who I wasn't completely assured that they would do a good job. I wanted to find the right pet sitters. who would be, I really wanted to clone myself. I wanted more people like me. So they were really able to help with finding the right pet sitters, attract them, make sure that I knew how to organise my time, their time, pay them on time, and keep track of which are the busy periods, which are the not so busy periods, what are the best ways to invest my time, spend my time.
So how did you actually, you got into this because obviously you have a talent for it, but prior to this you had a whole nother career.
I did, yes, it's completely different.
How do you find the transition? Because you were a social worker.
Yes, social worker, very public servant, it's very office-based kind of career. Well, in a lot of ways, I still feel like I have used a lot of those social work skills and a lot of those customer service skills, because I spend a lot of time talking to new customers who more often than not are really quite anxious. They want to know, who is this stranger coming into my home? Are they going to leave the place a pigsty? Are they going to abuse my animals? Are they going to steal things? And I need to spend a lot of time assuring them, this is what I do. This is how much time I spend in your home. These are the things that I cover, that I do. And I can almost sort of feel once they're able to see me and have a chat to me, I can almost see them just go, oh, thank goodness, okay, all right, this is fine. I'm on to something that's actually going to work. And also when they come back from holidays, I again see the relief that something's worked. Because I can understand having someone else in the home's a risk. And I think once they realise that risk's paid off, they feel really good.
And out of this, you've managed to become pretty good as far as your marketing in terms of social media goes.
Yes.
How have you grown your Facebook page?
I've grown my Facebook page. I have paid for Facebook advertising a couple of times, not too many, once or twice, and I've found that's really brought a good jump in likes to the page. But I do spend a lot of time on the Facebook page in particular, and I've got a lot of really good feedback from that. People have said that I've posted really useful, helpful things on there. It's not all serious. I do put a lot of, funny cat and dog videos up there too, which a lot of people quite appreciate. And I do put a lot of the photos and little stories of each of the pets that I'm looking after, so people get a little bit more of an idea about what I do when I'm in a family. And that, I think, has received the most positive feedback, where people have said, oh, I really do feel from looking through your Facebook pages what you do, and I can see that you really do care for the animals, and that's been really reassuring for them.
So people often say, don't work with pets and don't work with animals and don't work with children.
Yes.
Have you ever found that there's been anything that's particularly challenging, centering your work around animals, which can be unpredictable?
They can be. They absolutely can be. They're just like children in some ways, Sometimes I'm happily surprised. Sometimes I'll go into ones thinking, okay, brace yourself, this one's going to be a real challenge. And they've turned out to be absolute babies, and vice versa. You never quite know. I think one of the most challenging things is I adapt myself to the household, not the household to me. So some dogs are allowed on lounges, others not. Some are inside dogs, some are purely outside dogs. Some dogs are treated as members of the family and they'll be fed off plates, sometimes at the dining table. Other times they're just, they're not a member of the family, they're an adjunct, And some owners are very, very, need a lot of reassurance and they need you to go through the process in vast detail. Other people are just like, yeah, I trust you, you're fine. So I need to be really good at picking up the cues, I suppose, not just from the animals, but also from the owners as to what they need. Are they someone who needs lots of information? Or if am I going to start talking and they're going to go, yeah, shut up, Kristen, you're giving me too much, I don't need to know all that, just look after my pets, that's fine.
How have you actually, a lot of your job is around trust.
Yes.
Your clients have to trust you.
Absolutely.
They're not going to be around.
Yep.
How have you done any specific courses or, working with difficult animals or anything like that? How do you go about sort of reassuring people when they're not going to be around to that, that things are happening or that you can deal with a difficult situation?
I think they get reassurance from a few different sources. I would probably say most of the time it's word of mouth. If they've had a recommendation from a friend or a family member where they've said everything went well, Kristen left the place tidy, the pets looked really happy, she sent me a few emails and updates, that seems to go over well with most customers. I think a few people, like again the Facebook page, they see the reviews on there. I think I've had a few people say that they felt quite reassured from them. I do have, as a part of my background in social work, I've always had a police clearance and I've got a working with vulnerable people card. To be honest, I don't get too many people asking to see it or asking about it. I tell people that I have it and I think that that's comforting for them, but I think that's not the first thing that they think of. I have also done a first aid course for the dogs. And I think that's not something, the first thing that they, in their mind, but they seem to be quite impressed when I tell them this is what I've done. And I've also, I'm interested in doing a couple of new courses actually in the future on things like grooming. It's not a full grooming course, but sometimes if I'm presented with a giant sheepdog or something, for example, and if I'm going to be looking after that animal for any extended length of time, I need to know how I can get those burrs out, otherwise the customer's going to come back to one giant matted dog. So, I think that's comforting for people. I think they get a combination of all of those things, they feel pretty comfortable.
And plans for the future?
Plans for the future?
I
want to grow. I love being able to say, yes, I've got space for that. I don't like it when people ring up and say, oh, I really need you for this particular week, and I have to say, I'm sorry, I'm booked out. It's so nice to be able to have a full diary. And honestly, all the animals are different, but I have never come across an animal where I've thought, you're an inherently bad animal. Even there are some which are more challenging than others, but I can always find something which is endearing. It's a job that I love. I mean, how cool is it to be able to be paid to hang out with animals all day? To me, that's just a dream. And to be able to help people in that way, I think a lot of people are actually genuinely stuck and worried, and they won't go away on holidays unless they know that they've got someone who can look up. I've had some people, I had one customer who hasn't been away on a holiday for 7 years because she hadn't found someone that she trusted to look after her dog, who was a bit of a handful, so she wasn't going to leave the dog with just anyone. It was a moment where I felt really proud, like, oh, I was able to let that woman go away on holiday. Oh.
Well, that's wonderful, and thanks so much for sharing your story with us, and all the best for the year ahead.
Thanks, Candice.